Okay, welcome in to another edition of Sportswrap Overtime. We are on location this week, usually in the digital studio at the Wavy office. Not this week, though. It's a special week. We just wrapped up ODU Football Media Day, and clearly we have a special guest here on the show, Scott Jackson, the host of the Scott Jackson Show on Priority Auto Sports Radio 94.1 here in Hampton Roads. Brian Parsons here as well. Guys, ODU Football Media Day in the books, and year 5 for Ricky Ronnie, Scott.
Yeah, it's exciting. Unfortunately, the weather's not too hot for us here today. Is that good news if it rains in your media day? I don't know how that's like the wedding thing. I don't know. Supposedly it is. So, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting year because you have, obviously Colton Joseph coming back at quarterback, but yet you lost a lot of other key parts to your offense at receiver, running back, but they have a lot of really interesting running backs, I think, this year people will get to like, and, the receiver room as well, and good offensive line. You do lose Santana Saunders, but I think they've got some things to be excited about on the front seven of that defense, some new pieces in the back, which seems to be something they've had to deal with quite often with the transfer portal. But I think they're pretty excited about the year. I think there's a lot of confidence, some confidence with this group, and looking forward to seeing it get started.
Brian, you were at every game last year, 5-7, missed out on the bowl game.
I've been very high on this team in the offseason. I've thought that the expectations of being 5th in the Sun Belt East, was that the pick? Was that where they were predicting?
5 out of 7
5 out of 7. Although the East is usually better.
It is very good, but I think
still get you a bowl, but yeah.
I think when Ricky Ronnie returns as offensive coordinator and returns as defensive coordinator and returns as special teams coordinator and returns as starting quarterback, I think they need to win the division or contend for the division. I think they need to contend for the division for Ricky Ronnie to keep his job, honestly, because he hasn't had a winning record in his 5th year at Old Dominion.
You'd like to have.
Well, I mean, you said they had a winning record, but they had 2 bowl seasons, right?
That's 6-6.
Yeah, but then here's my other thing, and I talk to ODU fans about this all the time. So they're obviously this is going to be the formula moving forward. You're not going to play a P4 team and Virginia Tech anymore, right? So, I mean, if they really scheduled him for success out of conference, to be honest with you, before this, a lot of it's been about, Virginia Tech, it's a big money grab. It's been good for both programs, and now Tech's, in a different world, in a different space now, so they're not going to do it unless it's on their terms and on their field where they can get all the money. And then if you're going to play P4 team, I mean, again, other schools are playing, FCS teams at that point or what have you, or a team of G5 at your level. So I don't necessarily think that scheduling has been really beneficial all the time.
I've said that too, especially last year when you had.
It's part of it.
It was last year's was a murderer's row.
Yeah.
There was even Alabama plays an FCS school.
Right.
No FCS
right.
And last year they did not.
Right.
But then again, the year before when they did play an FCS school, they probably should have lost.
Right.
They should have lost.
I mean, they could have beaten South Carolina last year, as we know, on the road. They had a chance. Didn't play very well on offense against East Carolina defense, put them in position.
Took UVA down to the wire a few years ago.
Yeah.
Well, in 2019, they had UVA. They were up 17-0 on UVA. That was the year they went 1-11.
Yeah, I mean, you looked at last year's schedule, and people were like, "Oh, they're going to be 0-4," and then they winning the game at Bowling Green, which is one that was kind of the outlier. Like you didn't know what to expect there. So yeah, I just think the scheduling part of it is one of the things when you keep going. Well, it was 6-6, but like look who they play. I mean, like they're not taking weekends off, here. So I think that's moving forward with the new world of scheduling, it might be better, set up better for success moving forward.
I don't know if I agree with that because I think you're going to get 2 FBS money games now, where you're the body bag games, so to speak, because they need the money for the rev.
No, they're going to play
share.
one. It's going to be one of FCS and 2 G5s. That's the formula.
And one money body bag game.
Yeah, one game, and that might be Tech if they're still on the schedule. That might be considered the game. Or it's going to, again, the FCS or, 2
Just throwing
G5s.
this out there locally. I mean, like, you're talking about why not William & Mary?
William & Mary's on the schedule.
Yeah, I think they are.
Okay. Norfolk State,
Norfolk
too.
State, Hampton's down the road as well. Those will be on the schedule. Of course, Central Michigan was just added. Hopefully without Connor Stallions on the sideline. So yeah,
that might make it more exciting.
Yeah, I don't know. You say that since I don't get this sense that this is like do or die year for this staff. I don't. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't get the sense like there's a big push from anybody like that. Oh my God, if they don't do it this year, they're all out of work. I don't get that sense.
I mean, how close have they been? They've led the country in 1-score games the last 2 years. So it's been like I mean they're this close to. But again, they haven't got it done. But Ricky talked about that at Media Day. Like, if they knew the exact formula to stop from losing 1-score games, they would have stopped it 2 years ago. But I think it is a good sign for Ricky that you are that close. Like, I know you're not winning them, but you are close. You're not getting blown out. You're not losing bad,
No, but at a certain point, though,
correct.
The coin's got to flip the other way.
Yeah, for sure.
And you've got to get a winning record. I mean, at a certain point, the fans This place isn't packed every week. I know they say they set the attendance record a couple of years ago, but let's go by the eye test. This place is not nearly as full as it used to be.
Right.
So I think that some of the fans have spoken by not showing up.
Yeah.
Well, and then it's, look, the conference is weird, right? Outside of James Madison and Marshall to some degree, there's just not the natural, that's part of it too, and that's part of the growth with all these conferences. When you left, when you left the old CAA, which is not even the same thing anymore, or whatever.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I can't even recognize it. I'd fail that test, but it's just weird. It definitely took away a lot of the rivalries, but at least, again, with this thing, you have Madison in it. But yes, beating Madison would go a long way, those kind of games.
It's even things like that. Yeah, they gotta.
Yeah.
James Madison has leapfrogged Old Dominion in every single sport.
Yeah.
And it was a time
every one of them.
And it was a time where they
Scott,
couldn't get it right. Yeah. There's a time they couldn't get it. Yeah. In our day, no.
We're going to get into that. Talking about this roster, I mean, let's start with the obvious. Colton going from number 2 to number 1 this year. By the way, he changed his number.
He moved to Texas, too.
And he moved to Texas, apparently, based out of Austin in the offseason. I didn't know college guys had offseason.
I like that.
But no, it starts with Colton, right? 20, how many touchdowns? 22 total touchdowns last year, throwing and running. What do you like from Colton? Maybe where does he need to improve?
Well, I mean, I think the timing of the offense has to get better. That's what they work on a lot, like the timing of the plays, get the ball out on time, receivers obviously have to get open, those type of things. The timing of it, we know that he's off schedule, he's terrific.
Yeah.
Like that part of it, I think the structure of the offense, knowing the offense, the leadership thing, everybody's been bragging about how he's been, much more of a leader because now it's his team. I mean, it was hard before where you're like, am I the quarterback? Am I not the quarterback? And now he is the quarterback. You know that. So I think that part of it, and again, I think he does some things athletically that you cannot coach.
Right.
They could talk about drawing the play of it, but there's some plays last year you think about, like the extended plays and some of the runs he made.
Yeah.
And sometimes as you're watching these practices where they blow the plays dead, you're like, I think he would have got out of that. But, it's probably good to again, try to get him to work in the structure of the offense. But I think that part of it will be interesting. They'll have to identify who the top receivers are going to be the guys they can trust. But I think the backs, I like the variety of running backs they have. I do think that will help them early in this season while that maybe the passing game tries to develop a little bit more.
Receivers look really big. They added a lot of size in that end. So that should be exciting. And we asked Colton about that, and he said the great thing is those 50-50 balls.
Yeah.
Become maybe a 75-25%, because when they jump up and get those.
Sidney, I forget his last name off the top of my head. Sidney looked like a basketball player. He transferred from Tulane. He's at Old Dominion now, so he's looks like a power forward out there. Everyone seems to be really heavy on like Ronnie's talking about the emphasis on the run game. First of all, every football coach wants to run the ball, but it seems like they're going to really pound the rock with Roche.
With this offense, they've always run it well. Like, maybe the passing game hasn't always clicked the way they wanted it to with some of the big plays consistently, but the running game and this widespread, like it creates a lot of opportunities for the backs because you're so focused on, oh my God, they got two receivers over way the heck over here.
Sideline.
They got two receivers stacked over here. And, it'll be interesting to see how they work. And they got some interesting options at tight end this year, too, I think, that could be in play here. But, I think the running game, I think that'll be their bread and butter. And, of course, their quarterbacks, both of them, whether it's Colton or Quinn Anicle, if you ever got on the field, both can run it so well. I think certainly they're going to lean in heavily on that. To set up some of the big pass plays.
Flipping over to defense, Jason Henderson seems to be back healthy. That's what he's saying. He wasn't at media day. He had a prior obligation that he couldn't make media day, so we didn't get a chance to talk to him. But in the offseason, he said he's 100% and healthy. And
I don't think he ever said 100%.
Not 100%.
We never heard those words.
He never said 100%. That was my point. I was saying
he
never quite said 100%.
Sure.
He said basically he's good to go, whatever you want to read into that. But they're going to need him.
Well, they've got depth though at linebacker. Yeah. That's the thing, and I was kind of kidding around with Coach Sauer. It's like you're going to be able to feed all these linebackers you got because you have 4 guys that could certainly be starters, and how will that go? And good news is there's just times it happens. Guys are banged up. Guys are whatever have to take a series off, and you get people in, and they can feel like they can continue to be playing at a high level with whoever is in there at the linebacker position. So I do think that's a good thing for them. But yeah, you want to see Henderson out there. I mean, the fans love him. This is it for him. It's a big opportunity. He's still on all these watch lists and all the preseason things.
He was not 100% last year.
Not even close. I mean, it was sad. It was tough. And
that was tough.
And I think that was, I think it was an eye-opener for him because I think he thought he could just, rev up the engines, and he clearly couldn't. And talking to him this offseason about how the process of the rehab and all the steps he's taken and, been really, I think, listening more and more to his body and to the staff about, like, this you have to do these steps to get back on the field. So I think that's going to be interesting to see. But the defense, the front seven, they've got a lot of talent there. The back end is very new for the most part, but I think the front seven, feel good about it. Everybody's saying good stuff about the secondary, but until we see it, it's hard to really project what we're going to get.
And we'll see it. Season opener, August 30th, right? Old Dominion travels to Bloomington, Indiana.
28-point underdog.
Is that what the
I
number
believe.
is?
Was the
Good.
last time I looked.
Keep cranking it up. Good.
Oh, is that line going to change? I don't know. Yeah,
That's crazy.
We got a few days here.
But so many ties to that, too. We have Kurt Signetti
Exactly.
Yeah,
as
that's
the
what I
coach
was
of
about to
Indiana.
get
We
into.
remember him at JMU and their backup quarterback. My goodness.
we know
Grant
him.
Wilson.
We know him.
Well, Grant Wilson, of course, is the backup, one of the backups at Indiana, and I'm sure, former Old Dominion quarterback. He's going to be standing near the defensive coordinator of of the Hoosiers during the game, and maybe trying to.
He'll be in his ear, I
He's trying to
think.
be Connor Stallions. I don't know, but Grant, he played some good football here. Injuries obviously got the better of him last year, but. Yeah, that was an interesting transfer portal move for him to get to a P4 school, but good for him.
Yeah. Grant Wilson, the former Old Dominion quarterback. The last time ODU had back-to-back years as a starting quarterback was Grant Wilson.
We're trying to figure that out.
But now he is at Indiana, and all these JMU players. Remember, Indiana was a playoff team last year. Signetti's press conferences leading up to the playoffs were very interesting to say the least. Every press conference
he came out of his shell. Let's just say that.
Well, he's always been
been
full
brash.
of swag. Yeah, he's always been full of swag.
Yeah.
Coach Ronnie actually made a funny comment to me last year. I said, we were talking college football playoffs during the season, and I go, nobody would have expected Indiana here. And he goes, well, I'm going to have to correct you. I think their coach expected him to be there. Because I spent enough time around Coach Signetti. He's pretty high on what he does. So he was probably
and some of the other non-conference games.
Yeah.
FCS. North Carolina Central.
Yep.
Yeah. No slouch in the
No,
MEAC.
they're actually very high.
I know the head coach. You
got to be ready for that one.
Trey Oliver dating back way down. He's a great
At
coach.
Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
And Liberty comes here, right?
Liberty's always a pain.
And they
for
come
this
here,
team.
I believe,
they come
right?
here.
Okay, yeah.
They've always done really well against Old Dominion. So
And I'm not a fan of people talk about, Liberty needs to be in the Sun Belt. It's like,
Right.
no, you don't want Liberty in the Sun Belt because basically they have Power 5, Power 4 money, so
Yes,
to
they
speak.
do. They have an SEC level of money.
They have a financial advantage that would put everybody else in the conference that are public universities at a huge disadvantage. So I say, hey, Commissioner Gill, no Liberty in the Sun Belt.
I think James Madison's made their feelings pretty clear on that. Remember when there was some of the rumors about would they go to Conference USA or whatever, and they were like, they're not. They were like made it clear they were not a package with Liberty. They wanted to be opposite of
Liberty. Was that a Marshall, ODU, JMU kind of?
That was. That was the alliance, if you will, at that point. But I'm with you because I've talked to coaches that have been in the SEC and they've been to Liberty. Like Liberty's facilities are like on par with some SEC schools. They're that good.
Their indoor is amazing.
Yeah. I've looked up some of the videos. It's crazy.
They have an indoor track for their track team that's got this technology where the track can.
It's great.
The lanes can bank, and I
they
was like,
bank, right.
well, that's pretty cool. And I looked it up, and it's like there's not that many places in the country that actually have that.
Yeah.
But Liberty does.
But they're always tough. I mean, the ODU got embarrassed there a couple seasons ago when Caden Salter was still the quarterback. So we'll see. And I think isn't that where the kid from Norfolk who was at Coastal Carolina for all that time?
Ethan Vasco.
Vasco's at Liberty?
Is at Liberty now.
From Chesapeake.
Can't run away
Oscar
from him.
Smith.
Vasco, Oscar Smith, Chesapeake.
But he runs away from
He runs
ODU's
away.
defense.
He was like the third quarterback, remember, for Coastal. Came in here and walked the dog.
I was there.
Oh, my God.
I was
right
there
here
that
behind
night.
us. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Man. Yeah, that night was crazy because he got inserted, in the second quarter?
Yeah,
he
and
definitely
he was
didn't
great.
start.
He was great.
He went nuts, went berserk in the second half.
That big game last year against them, too.
I think ODU was up in that game, too. I think he made the comeback. That might have been Coastal's last.
Oh, but Chadwell brought him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Chadwell's the coach at Liberty,
Correct.
the old Coastal
That would
coach.
make sense. That would make sense.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And again, he's played the portal well, for himself too.
Wonder what kind of NIL money Liberty has, or do you think they're paying their kids crazy money?
Yeah, I would say
Paying
so.
them
Yeah.
something.
Everybody's getting something. Yeah.
That would be a good one. Virginia Tech, just kind of touch on that. News came out a few weeks ago.
Brent
A lot of the dates on the contract. They had this 10-year deal. They amended the 10-year deal. They're only going to play 4 or 5 of them. They're all going to be at Blacksburg moving forward. Like, what was your initial thoughts and reaction to that?
I kind of felt it was coming for a while, and I know a lot of our ODU fans don't want to hear it, but I've been talking about it for a year on the radio. Like, it just doesn't make sense at some point to continue that because there's such a disparity between the P4 and the G5. If you're going to also go play at Indiana or go play, at South Carolina like they did last year, I think that's just a big ask of your team. And when they started tying ratings into this stuff, and then it's either like they want to have heavily weighted home games, for this out-of-conference team. So I kind of figured it was coming at some point. And, they've been very open, ODU. Woods League's talked about it a ton on our radio show that, and same with Virginia. There's some back and forth going on there, too, whether or not that game ever happens or not again, or if it gets flipped to Charlottesville potentially.
It's a shame. I hate it.
Yeah,
Alabama went to South Florida a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Even the top of the top does it.
Yeah, they'll never do that again.
I know.
They almost lost.
Yeah, and then the worst part of all it, though, is basketball, where, you do have games that you can lose, and it's not going to ruin your season.
Yeah.
Like basketball, the fact that these cowards won't come play here or they won't even let ODU come play them really bothers me. And, the VCU breakup's been ridiculous, and they kind of got theirs when Mike Rhodes bought out of the Penn State game going back to VCU, which is quite funny.
I'll say this in all fairness.
Yeah.
Old Dominion does the same thing with Norfolk State. They don't want to play Norfolk State.
They're playing them this year.
I know they are, but they went 20 years. They've been many years without, and
they played them fairly frequently with Jeff too.
That's a bad loss. That's a bad loss, and it's the same reason Tech doesn't want to play. Come to Old Dominion, the same reason ODU doesn't want to go to Norfolk State. It's the same thing.
When you had a 100-year or 100-game rivalry as ODU and VCU did, I think it's a little different. Yeah. And let's be honest. I think it's totally different. The Smart Run was great.
VCU
they've been in a lot of tournaments. But the A10 is not the ACC right now. It's a one-bid league, just like the Sun Belt is, frankly. And that's where the disconnect comes. They're playing 3 other A10 teams this year, obviously, all on the road. Mason, they got to do a 2-for-1 with Mason, I think. And they got to go to Richmond and GW. So they'll get 3 A10 teams. So it's not like you can't play them. It's just you've chosen for whatever reason.
The Sun Belt's a bad basketball league overall. That's just what it boils down to.
This football podcast has turned into basketball talk amongst
comparatively speaking to what Old Dominion's basketball history has been, this is not a good conference.
Right. No, of course.
We're talking about a 3-bid league one year where you had a 9, 11, and a 10 seed.
Yeah.
Or no, 8, 9, and an 11 seed. And now you're looking at you're glad to get a 14.
Yeah. Times have changed, things evolve, and these conference realignments, I can't keep up with all of it. Getting back, Scott, have you said anything on air? A prediction for Old Dominion football this season, like a record? They got 12 regular season games.
I'm going to do that whole. I got to call the games this year, so I can't make a prediction.
Oh, got it. Okay,
got it. I'm doing the ESPN Plus for them, so I don't.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hope it's a good season. It's better for business.
Yeah,
right. And I'm alum. I want to call wins. It's
Correct.
more fun, doing that in basketball too. But yeah, I think it's going to be like this. The conference is hard. I mean, the East is hard. I mean, it's not the West, and the out of conference. Playing Tech in again Indiana. Going back to Brian's, who we were talking about earlier. I don't think it sets up this is setting you up on easy street. You're going to really earn it if you get it, and maybe they're ready for it. I hope they are. But again, we'll find out in a few weeks when they get to Bloomington.
7-5.
Yeah,
I think would be a really good season. A really realistic good season.
I mean, these guys. We're talking to all the players at ODU Media Day. They want to get back to a bowl game. I know it's 1-0. Ronnie preaches that, but all of them said we know it's 1-0. But you want to get back to a bowl game. You want to experience it. You want to have another whatever it is, 3 weeks with your team. You want to get the swag bag. You want to get the bowl game gifts. Us in the media, we want to go to a bowl game site.
Has he changed? Preferably. Has he changed his rule about? I guess we don't know because they haven't been to a bowl game since. That if you're in the portal, that you don't get to play in the bowl game. That was a Ronnie rule.
No, I think a lot of schools at this level have kind of gone that route. Yeah, I think that's probably
Western Kentucky didn't do that.
No,
well, they did. Well, that's a little
Yeah, no, that's an interesting.
Little different place.
I don't know. No one asked him that today in terms of.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to look that far ahead at this point.
That quarterback, I saw where that quarterback Verklampt, was that his name? The guy.
Veltkamp.
He's somewhere. Where was he?
The only reason it's in my head is because I was playing NCAA.
Well, Corley's with the Jets, the wide receiver that was supposed to light everybody up, and he actually didn't have that big of a game. It was that guy Smith that killed them, who was catching the ball
one-handed.
One-handed, like he was, like he was Odell Beckham, man. That kid was amazing.
No, Veltkamp is somewhere. I saw him, and I saw him in the video game, and I was like, oh my God, I remember that guy from, and I forgot where.
Maybe I should start playing the video game to remember who's on what roster.
No, honestly, you learn some of the roster just playing the game. And I've played with Old Dominion before.
When we were at the Myrtle Beach Bowl. The new Virginia Tech offensive coordinator was the head coach of Tulsa back then.
That's wild.
Yes.
Okay, and we didn't know what was kind of going on. We were trying to get the lay of the land, and I'm just getting footage of Tulsa's practice.
Right.
Well, the head coach saw us shooting his practice because we're getting ready for a noon live shot.
Yeah.
And he started cussing us out.
Yeah.
But we did.
The SID cussed us out. The coach actually didn't say anything.
He started pointing.
He definitely pointed.
Like, get out of here.
Right.
And then
We didn't know.
The SID was like, "What are you guys doing?"
We had no idea.
But we did see this one play where it was like this little skip,
a pop pass,
the
goal line pop
little
pass.
skip pass.
Oh, yeah.
And Craig and I both looked at each other like,
Oh, that's an interesting
that was
play.
nice.
Yeah.
In the red zone.
And we saw them pull off that
Yeah.
play
I pulled the play.
during the game.
Oh,
we saw
no.
it. And then when it happened, we're like, "Oh, you remember that?"
It was crazy. 20 minutes into this conversation, we are going to take a quick break and come back with Scott Jackson on the other side and talk some Commanders. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Sports Wrap Overtime, continuing here with Scott Jackson, the host of the Scott Jackson Show on Priority Auto Sports Radio 94.1 in Hampton Roads. We're going to get into the Commanders, who just wrapped up preseason game number 2 against the Bengals. Saw Jaden Daniels for one drive, didn't throw a pass, had the impressive 14-yard touchdown run. But, I mean, some of the big news that I talked to with the guys in the office today is, I mean, this Brian Robinson stuff. Looks like he's on the trading block, and they're looking for a trade partner and maybe even cut him.
Yeah, I mean, it's done. I mean, they tell you not to come to the game, and they'd already had the conversation ahead of time. And rarely do, like, those things spill over, into the post game. But it was interesting to hear Dan Quinn, take it head on last night because he had it. It was the biggest story going into the day besides the whole McLaurin thing that's been ongoing. I'm not stunned by it, but it is bold. I understand it. And again, they're not married to any of these guys. And that's the thing I tell people all the time when they go, why don't they do this? They owe him. Like, no, they don't owe anybody anything. They just owe themselves to put the best 53 together for next season. He's never been explosive. I do think at times, he was let down by the line or what have you. But let's remember he was probably overdrafted coming in. That was a Ron Rivera thing when they took him and they traded up. And there was a lot of other backs in front of him.
What round was he?
He was third round.
Yeah.
And I just think the time they had seen enough, and I think they like the other guys. Clearly, love Bill Krosky-Merritt.
Yeah.
And Chris Rodriguez, every time he's gotten on the field last year, like there were a couple crucial moments in the season where either Robinson was dinged up or he just wasn't getting it done. They put Rodriguez in the end of that second Giants game. He
probably concussed
he'd grind
for a
the
couple of those
clock
games.
out, right? Like he grind the clock out. End of the Falcons game, he was big as well. Like just some crucial moments. I remember last year, like in spots, Rodriguez would come in and get it done. I was like, good for him. Guy kind of just keeps his mouth shut, does his thing, next man up. And I think he'll be a part of the rotation. Obviously, Eckler, you got to have a rotation because he can't be your main guy at his age. Even when he was young, he get hurt. And I think there's probably, to me, Jeremy McNichols will be on the team. He does everything they want him to do. Yeah. Special teams, pass pro, catch the ball, run the ball. So I think they'll keep 4. I think this will be the 4, maybe Felton on the practice squad. But yeah, I mean, B-Rob, if they get anything for him, it'd be like a day 3 conditional pick swap, maybe pick swap. It's not going to be much. I mean, if they get anything for him. But I think it's a hell of a message, right?
Yeah.
Like to the rest of your roster, like these unofficial depth charts don't mean anything.
No. What about the rookie?
Or Krosky-Merritt. Bill. He's on it. Yeah, he's there.
Yeah, he's
in
they
the
love him,
rotation. They
apparently.
love Bill. Yeah, they call him Bill, and he wants to be called Bill.
I'm glad they want to call him Bill. Makes it easier on us, right?
They talked him up in Troy and
Joe Buck. Yeah.
Thank you, Joe Buck. We're talking him up.
And you talk about B-Rob, and I'm not saying this is the end of the career for Brian Robinson, but the average NFL career is 3.5 years.
Right.
He's entering year 4. I mean, this is what it is for a running back for most of your average guys.
And he's a one-cut back, and there's a lot of guys like that have a little bit more top-end speed than him. He can be tough. I hope this, I don't know if he's going to get to a place where he's going to be a starter. I don't think he will. I think he
won't get a big second contract.
Yeah, but he's going to have to earn it. But I think he's one of these guys who's going to have to grind a little bit. You look at Antonio Gibson. Like, they really thought he was going to be a star.
Ooh.
He's grinding. I don't know.
Where's he at now?
He's with the Patriots. Does he make it? I mean, think about where Travion Henderson is, right? And then they have Amandre Stevenson. Like, where does Antonio Gibson fit in all that? He's like the third guy. So I think that will be it's interesting to see where B-Rob lands, but yeah, it's not going to be the Commanders. It's definitely they're moving on.
Did you want to see Jaden play a second series and throw a pass?
I
was disappointed, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know it was a great drive. You hand it off to Debo. Rodriguez hits the big one, and then he hits the 14-yard. But let him throw a pass. What's
the offense did look good, though.
It looked fun
it
to
looked
watch.
fast. Like Debo looked fast. Obviously, Rodriguez looked fast.
I agreed with it. I did not expect
Jaden, was usual, like just sleek, just slid through the tackles and looked good. I mean, there was part of me that did, but I'll be honest. When I saw Joe Burrow get thrown down by Dedrick Wise on that, like, they called it a horse collar, it really wasn't, but whatever. And then later on, Joe Burrow doing that weird thing where he's changing direction and then gets met at the quarterback, like 2 guys beat him. Yeah. I'm like, this is probably why Jaden doesn't be out there either.
I mean, that's on. I mean, for one though, in my opinion, you would hope Jaden avoids that, but that's on Cliff. Like 3-step drop, get rid of the ball. Like, just get rid of the ball. Joe has a tendency to do that, because he's real ambitious. He gets real competitive out there.
I don't know.
Do you know the Dedrick Wise Hampton Roads connection?
I do not.
What is this is a good one.
Dietrich Wise Jr. is the son of Dietrich Wise Sr., who is the head coach of the Norfolk Nighthawks arena football team.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and he was born in Suffolk, so I
That's
guess
so
that.
cool. Okay, that makes sense. I like him. He's a pros pro.
He is a pros pro. Veteran.
And you
the
saw,
Patriots.
I don't know, like
Huge.
if you noticed when he
Huge.
was in, he's huge, and Ken Law's the
Huge.
biggest guy ever. But when he was in New England for that joint practice, the people in New England just love him. I mean, they were just gravitating to him. So I think he's going to make the team. Obviously, he's going to have a big role. Ken Law's going to be, I thought last night, now and again, it's not the Philadelphia Eagles you're facing, but there were not a lot of big running lanes for the Bengals. They really did a good job of the run defense, I thought, against the Bengals ones with their ones when they were out there with Ken Law and that group. I think Jalen Holmes, I've been standing on the table for Jalen Holmes to make the team. It's going to be tough, but I think he makes the team. The versatility part.
Yeah.
And if you notice, he works his ass off. I mean, he gets doubled, and he never gives up on plays. I mean, Eddie Goldman, I know they brought him to be a run stopper and be a nose. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they make that, if he makes it or not. It might be down to him and Jalen, actually, but I think Jalen's versatility should carry the day there. Jalen Holmes, yeah.
Norfolk native.
Lake Taylor High
Lake
School.
Taylor, yeah. Great guy.
We think Von Miller's going to make the team, probably, most likely.
I think Von Miller's going to make
He'll be
it.
all right.
Yeah. I think Von's probably good.
Von's good.
Yeah.
With this Terry thing, what's going to
we
happen?
got to get to the Terry stuff.
What are you hearing from your people up there?
It was weird. Jaden Daniels made the comment. You probably saw it last night on the game where he thought, at 17 he's going to be walking through the building, almost like he was breaking news, and then he kind of stopped himself, like he didn't know that, but he's assuming it. I think, look, the next practice day is a big day. Is he going to do, like you saw it today in Pittsburgh or the other,
Cam Hayward showed up.
Cam Hayward showed up.
Did he go through individual drills or
He
just
did.
show up?
He played. He was padded up, went through individuals. Will Terry do that, or are they going to continue to take the next step? I think the team, if you listen to Dan Quinn carefully, they didn't exactly tell Terry's group, hey, do you want to do this? This is what's happening. Yeah. This is the next step. Now, how do they follow suit? Is there a contract waiting on the other side? I'm not sure. I mean, again, I don't know what to believe with the numbers. If he was really asking higher than DK Metcalf, I totally understand why it's not a done deal. And even the DK Metcalf contract's a little high. And again, these contracts are about what you can do in the future.
Yeah.
That's what they're paying on. And I get it. He played in some terrible situations here. They also paid him pretty well, by the way, and that second contract is a pretty good one at the time, if you remember. They put him in the top 10 range of the NFL receivers, even though at that point I don't think anybody was uttering his name in the top 10. So I think you look at that too, and he did resign here. He didn't have to. He could have hit free agency and gotten the hell out of town.
From Terry's camp, would you think, this is my opinion as an outsider with no information on it, from Terry's camp, it feels like Terry's camp is going into Adam Peters' office and saying, hey, Terry had his best year ever. You have a rookie quarterback. Yeah. Your rookie quarterback in your offense needs this vertical threat down the field, this consistent threat. Just give us what we want and let's finish this thing. Like from Terry's camp perspective, if it's a leverage issue, do you feel like they have any leverage at all using almost Jaden Daniels as a piece to say, hey, man, these guys need each other?
Well, I also think they'll say, no, we got this guy's special. Our quarterback is actually an all-time, was one of these quarterbacks. Like Patrick Mahomes saw Tyreek Hill get traded.
Well, I know, I get
and that's
it,
an extreme
but Mahomes
example.
is Mahomes.
Right, and this isn't Tyreek Hill, by the way.
No,
Terry's
right.
not Tyreek
You're
Hill.
right, no.
Terry, again, his great year was 1,099 yards. It wasn't 1,200. It wasn't 1,400. In a 17-game schedule, mind you. 13 touchdowns is nice for sure, but these years he's had are not look, I lived through this and he did too as fans of this franchise. Art Monk did not retire a Redskin. Gary Clark did not retire a Redskin. These are all-time players in this franchise. And Brian Mitchell. Art Monk, the all-time leading receiver, and they let him go. I mean, that was hard. I mean,
it happens.
And that's why I kind of at the end of the day, I kind of want to step back and go, look, I get it. We're all in the moment and all this stuff, and I understand what you're saying. And that's where Terry's people had the leverage. At one point had the leverage. Yeah. But now we're close to the season. It's like, are you really going to skip out on games, buddy? Yeah. Because you do, at the end of the day, have a contract.
Of course, yeah.
And there's dead money attached to this current contract that will still be there even if he gets a new deal that they'll eat next year, no matter whether he's here happy or unhappy or with the team. So I think they're at that point. I think they do want to do something, but I do not believe they're going to go anywhere close to what the Metcalf deal is. I mean, if you look at the other two receivers over 30, he's not 30 yet, I get it. Yeah. But guys that have had better careers and longer careers, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, right? Mid to low 20 contracts. Yeah. Mike Evans is Mr. Buccaneer, right? I mean, every year 1,000 yards. I mean, won a Super Bowl, with Tom Brady. And, Devontae Adams, like an all-pro when he was at Green Bay, right? And last year had a really good season on a crappy Jets team. Will probably kill it, with assuming Stafford's on the field, with L.A. So I think that's also what they're looking at. The Cortland Sutton contract didn't help him either.
No.
That didn't do him any favors. So I think he's better than Sutton. He's been more healthy. But I understand why they're going to use that as a comp.
But he's not Justin Jefferson.
No, not Jamar Chase. No, not even like that.
I don't even think he's T. Higgins.
I think T. Higgins got about 28. I think T. Higgins' level would be about right. For him.
I was getting stuck on age and ability and size.
Right. And again, a lot of this, there's a lot of speculation in the media, in our business, where like, is it Buddy Baker that's screwing this thing up? Right, the agent. Okay. Is he the guy driving this? I mean, Terry's just done all the things that don't show of a guy who was ready to walk away. You know what I mean? He's been out of practice. He's hanging out with it. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know why they gave away the money they gave away. This what drives me crazy. And you can say, well, he'll get it back later. But no, he really won't. He gave away the workout bonus of $200K. You could just show up. You didn't have to be smiling. You just work out. I mean, it's not hard. You're going to work out anyway.
Yeah.
You showed up to those mandatory mini camps. Yeah, you don't have to, you could hold into those and you still get that money.
Yeah.
Like the fact that, and then he missed 2 days of camp to lose 50 and 50. It's bad. It's like bad accounting. It's like, no, they can't erase the fines anymore. Yeah, you can make the guy whole in the contract, but again, Adam Peters is not running a charity event here. I mean, he's kind of like, hey, I got to work a whole team here, and I don't want to put myself in a position where at the end of the year, and it's going to happen, Laramie Tunsil's going to have, if he has a great year, he's going to be at the door.
Want an extension.
Lattimore,
on the books for 2 more years.
Yeah, all these other guys are going to want the same type of thing. So
to Adam Peters' credit, not knowing exactly his deal coming from San Fran, I have been impressed for him not to just kind of give in and give Terry what he wanted from a strictly GM standpoint. Now, do I think Terry should be paid? Do I think everyone should just find the middle ground and move on, and the fans would be happy, and we just get to it, of course. But Adam Peters seems like he's a little dug in a way, from what just seems like on the outside.
So here's the 2 things I always point out about Adam Peters to people. Number one, yes, he finished his career, or his last job was in San Francisco for a few years, and he did work with John Lynch, knew him, obviously was in Denver too. But Adam Peters, in the early infancy of himself as a front office person in the NFL as a scout and coming up, was under Bill Belichick. With the Patriots. And that should scare the crap out of Buddy Baker and Terry McLaurin, because those are not people who give in to players and whatever they want. They say their price is their price, and they're kind of done, right? That's kind of how Belichick did it. I mean, Brady, he was the only guy got paid, and he still took a discount, right? Over those years in New England. So I would say for everybody who thinks, oh, this is going to be just like San Francisco, they're going to give them everything they want at the end. I don't get that sense at all with Adam Peters. And my dealings with him, I've had a few of them. I've done interviews with him. Really good guy to talk to, very smart, answers questions, listens to the questions and those things. But also I know is not a guy who's going to chit-chat you up off the record and tell you stuff. And that's why
there are those types in the NFL.
And there's a lot of those that do that in the NFL. They're kind of like they're the insecure ones that don't believe in themselves. And hopefully he'll stay that way even through hard times, because he'll eventually have them. And he's not putting out what the team thinks or whatever at this point. A lot of this is coming from Terry's agent or people around it. So I think it's interesting, and it's worth noting, again, this is not just somebody who's just going to be like John Lynch at the end and go, okay, whatever you want, here's $30 million like they did to Ayuk, and then, 5 weeks later it tears his ACL. So, again, this day coming up when they practice leading up to the Ravens game are very important, because we'll see how dug in they are at that point. Because to give up game checks, I mean, Hassan Reddick did it last year. Was terrible.
Man, he gave up a lot of them.
Now he played well, or he got a decent enough deal with Tampa, but it's kind of a show-me deal. But like the last guy to sit out, obviously Le'Veon Bell. What a disaster that was, I mean, it's just
Zeke. They signed Zeke a couple years ago, right before the opener.
Yeah. I mean, it's just you can't play that game anymore, and you don't want to lose the year of service either.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help Terry's cause. My one criticism would be of the Commanders is this: if they knew this was going to be such a wide gap, why not early? And this would have been tough PR-wise, because it would have gotten out there. Just say to him and his agent, hey, we don't think we can do the number you want, but if you can go out and find that contract with another organization, we'll work on a trade for you because we think that much of your guy.
Yeah.
And they would have found out, oh crap, nobody's giving him the DK Metcalf deal. Nobody is doing that.
Right.
The reason Metcalf even got his deal was because he was getting traded.
Yeah.
So he kind of had the Steelers over the barrel. They already agreed to trade, but they had to agree to a contract, so he could get a few more millions here and there.
Yeah.
What's the buzz up there about the new stadium and coming back to DC? I mean, that is a big deal, Scott.
Huge.
We saw
Huge.
RFK. We saw what it was like.
Yeah.
We saw the magic. FedEx. It was never replicated. Not even close.
And I feel bad because even Snyder, who was terrible, did put a lot of money into FedEx, like his own money, like to try to improve it. Just never did. It was an antiquated stadium the day it opened, as you remember. You were up there. But Jack Kent Cooke, it was in a hurry. He was dying. It was like his vanity piece. And again, they modeled it off the stupid Meadowlands in New York.
Yes, they did. The old Meadowlands.
Yeah,
yes,
the old Meadowlands is a crappy stadium.
He loved the Giants
stadium.
stadium.
He loved the idea of being out in the burbs, it's like in the middle of nowhere, in this boring cookie cutter stadium.
Yeah,
so that's what they ended up with, and it's terrible. But yeah, look, the DC part of it's huge. That area has been wasted. I mean, people, for all the back and forth, and like, oh, they shouldn't put a stadium here, it's wrong. Well, this stadium has been empty for how long, and they've done nothing with that land. Like, they have a couple parks over there, and there's some side soccer fields. I used to call UDC soccer. I'd call their games over there, and there's like nothing over there. It's terrible. So they have to do something. So it's exciting. The draft coming to DC in a few seasons is amazing. And there's a lot of cool things happening. And, again, you got a quarterback that appears like he's one of the few that is the guy in the NFL. It's exciting. So, it just adds to everything.
I've always felt D.C. deserves one of the best stadiums in the world.
Right. And you can get a Super Bowl. If you get a dome, you get a Super Bowl, you get Final Fours.
WrestleMania.
Yeah, you get all that stuff.
All that stuff that
You'll get
goes
all
along
the
with
big
it.
stuff if you get a...
Taylor Swift's not skipping D.C. with that stadium.
Right, retractable dome. You could have gotten World Cup games and all that stuff that you couldn't get before. They've missed out on so many opportunities. And plus, the old owner was toxic. In the venue sucked, so that was just the double whammy there. So it is a big deal. I remember Gary Williams, the old Maryland coach, telling me like 10, 15 years ago how Baltimore blew it when they built M&T or whatever it was called at that time.
It's still M&T.
Yeah, that they should have domed it because the NCAA is so thirsty to be in the Northeast for a Final Four. Instead, they have to go to Detroit or Atlanta. Right. They're missing this whole region of the country where it's great basketball. Yeah. New York never did anything. They did an outdoor stadium as well. And, they're not going to play in arenas anymore. So Madison Square Garden's out of the question. Not US Arena, excuse me.
Barclays.
Barclays is out of the question. The one, obviously, in D.C. is out of the question.
Final Four, Barclays.
But the Final Four.
Philly's explored possibilities of a new stadium.
They put that
with a
out.
dome.
I guarantee you their fan base is going to crap on it. The idea of it retractable. But I think it's realistic because these stadiums can't just be for your football team.
No. Right.
8 games, 10 games, whatever the number is with preseason, what have you. You have to have year-round venues. You have to have a reason to go there. They're so expensive now. It's so different than like RFK, Three Rivers, the Vet, they all look the same. They're the same cookie cutter. 54,
Riverfront,
5,
Fulton
Riverfront.
County.
They all were the same stadium, and they were all crappy. But we didn't know any better, so we loved it, and we went to the games.
Right. We're going to take one more break here with Scott Jackson. We're going to come back and get into his background a little bit and just how he got to where he is at as the host of the Scott Jackson Show. We're coming right back on Sports Wrap Overtime. Okay, welcome back. Sports Wrap Overtime. Craig Loper, Brian Parsons, Scott Jackson here for another edition of the show. Getting into Scott's background, I've known Scott now for about 4.5 years. Been talking to you, been listening to you on the radio now for, I guess, how you've been on 2 years? Has 2 years?
2 years, yeah, 2 years since I've come back down here. I started here out of college at ODU.
Right.
When it was the score 13-10, as Brian remembers. Tony Mercurio, the legend. John Castleberry, who at that time was the program director, who was working at Wavy as the second sportscaster at Wavy.
Deuce.
I interned at Wavy
in
college.
There we go.
Yeah, and I was in Bruce, of course, Bruce Rader, and Mike Diller was the producer there back in the day, and John said to me after my internship was coming up, he's like, "What are you doing in the fall?" And I said, I just got a last semester of college. He goes, "Well, I got this radio station, 1310, we're all sports or whatever." Down here, and I was like, that's kind of cool. So I started working there part-time, running boards and stuff back when you had to run the boards.
Yeah, right.
Before they had like everything automated.
Yep.
And, so I did that for a while, and then Jim DeSabella started doing a midday show, and they made me his producer, longtime Virginia pilot, Redskins reporter, NFL guy. Jim was a blast. And Jim was really a guy who really kind of made me, because he's like, look, I don't know anything about football or basketball or baseball anymore because I'm just doing football. I knew he knew football. He's like, I don't have time to pay. So you're gonna have to come on and talk about the NBA with me, or whatever. So he just bring me on all the time. Then eventually, he's like, you should be the co-host of this show.
Okay.
And Deuce is
such
great.
a good dude.
I love him.
Yeah. We had a blast. We did that for a couple of years, and then they moved me to mornings. With a guy named Pete Medhurst, who did
this was
Navy
right out of
football.
college.
Yeah, right
Pete
out
Medhurst.
of college. Yeah, who just passed away recently. Sad story. Yeah, great broadcaster at Navy football. But anyway, got started there, and then I guess it was 96, late in 96. some guy called me up, and this makes me feel really old, but you understand this. Like, this is like pre-internet, right? Somebody cold calls you, says they're from a station in Jacksonville, Florida. They'd like you to come down and interview for your job. And I'm like, yeah, I think it's one of my friends. I'm like, yeah, what? And like I'm working morning, so I'm dead tired. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I think I hung up on the guy.
Right.
And luckily they called me right back, or I star 69. That's what you had to do.
Yeah.
And to see if this is real. And I'm like,
times.
oh crap, I think I just hung up on an actual job opportunity. And I didn't know anything about Jacksonville, Florida. I just knew it was in Florida, but it barely is. And I found that out quickly. It was South Georgia, essentially. So I ended up taking the job. The Jags had just started. And I didn't want to get into a pro sports market. I know I was from D.C., but I knew I was too green for that at that time. But I had a lot of reps at that point. But it was exciting. I went down there. I jumped in on the Jaguars' '96 season. When I got there, they won. They won 4 games when I got there. By the time they were 4-6.
Yeah, let me refresh my.
Coughlin had like 14-2.
Yeah, Brunell.
Brunell was what year?
This was his 3rd year.
Who was the running back?
Natron Means and James Stewart were the backs this year.
Fred Taylor wasn't there yet?
This is before Fred Taylor.
Oh, okay.
So this is the '96 season.
Oh, 96.
No, and the O-lineman,
They
the guy,
squeak
the Hall of
into the
Famer.
playoffs. They get on this roll. They get into the playoffs. On Morton Anderson, of all people, slips and falls, misses a chip shot field goal that would have knocked them out of the playoffs in the last week of the season. So they get to play Buffalo. It seems like a death sentence. They're going to Buffalo. Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith, Thurman Thomas. It's over. They're going to get smashed. They're a big underdog. So they send me on the trip. You know, I'm working there like, hey, yeah, you got to go. We get up there, and of course, they knock out Jim Kelly. Tony Brackens KO'd him. I said Jim Kelly came off the cart. He went by me. He didn't know where he was. They beat Buffalo. The people's batteries are getting thrown on the field. I mean, it's nuts. I mean, it was wild. They get that win. So I'm like, that's a cool ride. So next week I get to go to Denver. Broncos are unbeaten, like 13-3 that year. Elway, Shanahan, they're ready to win. Multiple Super Bowls. They're that good. They're the biggest favorite, what have you. And Jacksonville falls down early, ends up coming back and beating them. Yeah. And that Barrel Man's crying. I remember Mile High Stadium on the sidelines. I'm like, this is freaking wild. You know, I can't believe
they made it to the AFC Championship game.
So they're in the AFC Championship game next week. This is also, I'm just falling into all these things. And at the time, you know, I kind of knew it was something. And then later in life, I look at it and it blows me away. Then they lose to New England. But this is also New England. They go to the Super Bowl, lose to Green Bay.
Yeah, right.
This is Bill Parcells. He's literally like 1 foot out the door.
Yep.
Like he's talking in the press conference like people are like, are you going to be here next year? He's like, I don't even buy the green bananas, fellas. I don't know what the future holds. Like he's totally gone, right? He's gone. Like it was so wild. I'm like watching this after the game. You know, I'm doing the post-game locker room in New England, and my other guys that were on the trip with me from our station are doing Jacksonville. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. Stayed there for about 4 years. Saw them go 14-2 and lose 3 games that year. All to the Tennessee Titans on their home field, lose the AFC Championship, get embarrassed by the Titans.
Okay.
By the way, I want to reiterate in that '96 season, which was the Jags' second season.
Yeah, second season. Yep.
Yeah.
The NFC Championship game, the Carolina Panthers, in their second season. Yep. We were that close to having a Carolina Jacksonville Super Bowl in their second year of existence.
And by the way,
I don't think the NFL wanted that.
This is why the Texans really suffered, because they were like, they're never going to do this again.
They don't want that.
They changed the draft format.
They changed everything. They changed everything. The salary cap, like you didn't have a free. Anyway, it was a whole thing. But that was a lot of fun. So I was there for till about 2000. Our station got sold to a media group that had no sports stations. I'm like looked around the room, and we're like 4. We're all young guys in our 20s, and I was like, look, I'm getting out of here. Yeah. I'm going to do whatever I can to get out of here because this place is not going to be here in a year. And sure enough, it wasn't. And I luckily got to D.C. like 4 months later. I started working at Sports Talk 980, which was WTM, a station I grew up on up there. Stayed there for 8 years. Was doing Wizards. I did Michael Jordan's seasons with the Wizards.
Which one was Ken Beatrice? Which one was he on?
Ken ended there. He started at 6:30. WML. Yeah, you're next. Ken was actually working at Sports Talk 980 when I got there at the end of his career. That was a lot of fun. I was at his retirement party. But so there for about 8 years. Went to Jacksonville. Worked for Capital Broadcast for 2 years.
You were in DC for 8 years and went back to Jacksonville?
No. Went to North Carolina. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Raleigh.
Got it.
That didn't work out so good.
Yeah.
The economy tanked, and they were like, So I went back to DC after that, luckily, and John Thompson retired, and I took his show. You know, like they reformed his show with me and Brian Mitchell and Doc Walker inside the locker room. Did that for about 7 years, I guess it was, and then our company got sold to Radio 1, which then is sold or traded to Odyssey and the whole mess. So then I was like freelancing.
You see a lot of that going on in the media landscape.
So I kind of jumped around after that and did like more freelance stuff, and then started getting into play-by-play, and that's how I started getting back here doing, I was doing VCU basketball for a while.
Yeah, you were on the road, man.
What's up with that?
Did a few ODU games, and then,
VCU.
And shout out to Jeff Jones, who really pushed for me to get into basketball here once they started doing their own broadcast.
Real quick question. It's a Friday night. It's 1992.
Yeah.
Friar Tucks, 4,400 or Crazy Charlie's. What's it going to be?
Well, Mr. T's first to get the nachos and the tacos, but then probably, fried potatoes. I like the Elbow Room, too. They had the really large beers. That was good. But, yeah, they were all –
I like Tucks because they had bands.
Yeah, Tux was pretty rough, man. That was a rough crowd. I can see Parsons hanging in there. What about that one place, King's Head? Supposedly, like U2 played in the Smithereens.
Yeah. Van
I don't know
Halen.
if any of them were ever there, but they had these great posters. And you're like, wow, man, I can't believe I missed Van Halen here.
King's
2 years ago.
Advertising, gets the word out.
Well, what happened was Progress
But I like 44.
knocked all those places down. They built the Convocation Center.
I was so bummed out when I first did the Convocation Center. Actually, Ricky Ronnie, when he just got hired, I actually was one of the first people to interview him. He was sitting. They put him on our broadcast with us, and ODU was playing Richmond, I think it was, and we were doing the game for one of the local stations, not this one, sorry. And I said to him, I go, you're sitting in what used to be like a really cool bar, and I told him the background of 44 and the whole strip, and he got a kick out.
Tucks on Tuesday nights, they had 10-cent wing night.
Oh,
everybody would be in there.
Yeah, Crazy Charlie's had some really good drink specials, and all of them did. But yeah, I missed the bar, so I was sitting here today, and this thing, like when this first started, was just like it was the only place you could drink here, right? Like you come down here, was the beer garden.
I'm always working.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You're working. Why wasn't?
Yeah.
Now I got to work this year.
Night
Football.
shifters.
This is like going to be a change of lifestyle for me. Usually football is just a fun day for me, but now with the ESPN Plus stuff.
Yeah, it's like if I go to like a sporting event.
Yeah.
And I'm a fan. If I drink a beer, I feel weird.
Yeah, right.
Because I feel like
I'm
programmed to think I should be working.
But this is a very heavy. This used to be a big party place, but now you can party here still, but you just have to pay a little bit more for it.
Yeah. Well, Scott, we're going to wrap this thing
right.
up here. Let's see. Anything else on our mind? We got like 2 minutes, but I was just going to ask you the favorite ODU memory from your time, sporting event?
Well, it's funny because it's beating Virginia, and I feel bad when I say it in front of Coach Jeff Jones all the time.
That was a great game. At Scope.
At Scope.
Petey Sessum's 4-point play.
Oh, so awesome.
Tony Mercurio was doing the public address.
Yeah, it was so much fun. That was a good one. The worst one, of course, was when Lefty.
Ken Caluco.
The Ken Caluco moving screen, complete bull crap. Should have never happened. Should have been Oda foul.
Shot out of bounds.
Should have been an offensive foul.
Oliver caught a timeout.
Yeah.
They gave them time to set it up. Ken Caluco, and you want to know the worst part? Okay, I don't know if you remember this part, Scott. Okay, there was a rumor going around that Ken Caluco sued a player on American University because he fouled him and intentionally tried to ruin his modeling career.
Oh my God, I did not remember that.
That's a rumor.
So everybody heard that, and then we hated him. We hated Ken Caluco.
Yeah,
he hit that shot.
He's a great shooter.
We had to go to the NIT because of that. But then, not that this is funny, but do you remember Jason Williams of the Nets?
Yes,
of course.
Yeah, Ken
White
Caluco was
chocolate?
there.
Ken Caluco was there when the limo
No, not
driver.
White Chocolate. The other Jason Williams, the one who shot the limo driver.
Oh my God! Yes, sorry.
Caluco
Yes.
was in that circle.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know that. I
Go
saw
on.
him.
So Caluco is just never escapes us.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that and obviously beating Villanova was in the tournament was great, and
That JMU, that was the worst game, man.
that JMU one
tough.
I still talk about that
was
game
tough.
with people, and it's
We were
very
up
painful.
19 with 13
I
to
know.
go.
It was a rough one.
They put the press on. We couldn't get the ball past
Yeah,
half
it was
court.
bad.
20-point leads aren't what they used to be. I guess
That's
even
right.
back then.
Even back then.
And then Oliver went to
So we
Dayton.
had no football. That was the other thing. It was
No,
weird.
I
We had
know.
no football. Now having this is so cool, and it's.
We had the
it's a lot of
Oyster
fun.
Bowl. Once a year,
Yeah,
it'd be like VMI.
Man, the first time
No
I ever
offense,
heard
Citadel and VMI, but yeah.
Man,
Citadel.
Brian will tell you. I think the first time I ever heard the Oyster Bowl on the radio, Ted kept saying this was like when I first got here.
Right.
And Ted kept saying the Oyster Bowl.
Right,
the
you
Oyster
know what it
Bowl.
was, yeah.
I had to tell. I walked in the office. And
He couldn't understand.
What is the Oyster Bowl?
right.
He's like, oh, it's a college football game. I'm like.
It was a high school game at one point too,
I'm
right?
like, but I had no concept.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, but
yeah.
ODU doesn't play. And he's like,
Yeah.
no, because you just bring some two schools in and they play. And I'm like, what is that? Anyway, that was
Like
that was
Roger
4 years ago.
Staubach
Yeah.
apparently
right.
played.
Yeah,
and
supposedly.
Syracuse came. Jim Brown.
Sonny
I
Jurgensen
don't-
played a preseason game here too.
Yeah,
right?
he did.
Yeah,
He did.
Back
he
in the
did.
day at Foreman Field.
We're gonna
Sonny
let Scott.
Yeah.
We're gonna
He's
let
there.
Scott get out of here. That's been it for another Sports Wrap Overtime edition. Hope you enjoyed this.
On
Share it with your
location.
friends and
That's
family.
right.
On
And the humidity
location. I
and the
think
rain.
maybe our first one.
I
too,
think
actually.
so, yeah. First one for me.
location. So thanks for Scott for
Thank
joining
you.
us. For Brian Parsons and Scott Jackson, I'm Craig Loper. We will see you next time.